Hello YouTube, I thought I'd make a video on a collection of some of my homemade tools. I don't know if I have a playlist, but if you go to my search box on my channel and type in handmade tool or homemade tool, you're going to find a lot of the videos on this. We're going to start out with one of my most important tool I made. This I made valve spring compressor when I worked on my 16 horsepower Briggs. And it was very hard to work on because it had the little half collars like on a car head. So I had to compress the spring quite a ways. Plus it had a rotator on there which made it taller. And I had to get those little keepers up there with grease and a stick and everything else. It'd been better if the motor was upside down. It really would have been, but this is what I made. It's kind of at a weird angle like that, but when I came down to compress it, it was probably compressed about that height, so it wasn't really like this. So that was one of the most important tools I made in the past year. Old pair of vice grips, just common metal 1/8 inch thick. Okay, off with that. Here's one of the neater things I made, a homemade wrench. I could use it on my Allis-Chalmers tractor. I checked the transmission fluid, it's 9/16. There's a couple other plugs on there. So I could call it my own little tractor wrench. So there's that. We'll go off into this. This is made on the lathe. There's a magnet in there. And then this is magnetic. The only bit I could find in my drawer was a rusted one, but this is part of another screwdriver. It's been drilled and crammed in there. It had this part on it right here, so it's pressed in there with the vise. The vise just opened up enough to do that. It kind of reminds you of a custom shifter knob, like something on you had a 3-speed on a column or anything, automatic tranny or something. You could make something like this. Just whatever aluminum. I can't tell you what kind. Okay, here's my little hammer. It's got the 1/4 inch carriage bolts, even though this is 5/16, they're epoxied in there. And I've been pounding on this thing on stuff. It's starting to get some wear on it. For little pins, you want to pound something small out. This is left over from the little 6-inch crescent wrench I bought that was no good. Okay, now I have a video on this on my computer somewhere. I need to find it. This is that cut-off tip when I did my screwdriver challenge. And what I did was, I just kept grinding the flat part. You know, your socket is 6-sided. I kept grinding here and here and made this a little wider. And then here I ground more of a groove with the Dremel. So it's kind of self-explanatory. Then JB Weld, put it in a vise like this so it would run down. So it's kind of a nice handy tool there. You use your 1/4 inch ratchet. I mean, you can buy these, but this is just almost the same diameter as this. It's an SK socket, which doesn't really matter what it is, but nice old 3/8 deep well socket. So it was pretty wore down inside there where it wouldn't fit the nut, so I repurposed it. Here's one of my later ones, just recently here. Chisel made from the wrench. That's the round part, boxing part of the wrench. So we won't spend too much time on these. Punches. I made a lot of brass punches this last winter. And that's a drill bit in there, so it's high-speed steel. When I sharpened it, it never really got hot. And this is also done on my small lathe. You don't need a lathe to do this. I mean, you can actually step this down and do this yourself on a grinder or something and polish it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need a lathe to make some of these. This one's kind of unusual. We'll go this one. This is just all solid brass. Not really a center punch, but kind of a little line-up punch for getting in places. It's kind of unusual how I made this. This is just welding rod. So it's not hardened like a scribe. But this is how I made this. See how that I drilled in that brass. I did that on the lathe when that's in your chuck, so it was accurate. And you can tell it's still copper coated steel. This whatever welding rod people use for TIG rod. And then it goes in there like this. So it made it easier to make. Kind of complicated on a lathe when you get drilling that long. My lathe is really not that big. Okay, this is stress-proof steel. Every time I showed it, I can't tell you the number of it. I'd have to look it up. This is my favorite center punch. This will put a center mark on hard steel where the other ones will fail. And this is all heat treated on my own. This had gun bluing on it. I can't tell you the diameter, but this is called stress-proof. So I can't tell you the number of it. Punches made from ratchet handles. This was an old flex ratchet. I turned into like a breaker bar and then it failed. And it's a nice long tapered punch. What are we looking at? Over 8 inches? Another real cheap ratchet, which is kind of a failure because it will not hold a point. It is not tough enough. You'd have to harden it. But it maybe be turned into another taper punch here before winter time is over, because it was not that quality of steel. You can tell with the screwdriver. It was a pretty cheap one, probably a $3 one. This big old thing has a nice pointed edge on it still. I don't think I've used this since I made it. This laid around and it used to be a little longer, and I had made it out of a really old, I swore it was like part of a breaker bar. I don't even know whether it was a ratchet I cut off. But look at the wear on this. I mean, look at the knurling gone. I didn't take that off of there. Maybe ground a little bit to smooth it out. It was really a beat up tool. Whatever I made this out of, it was really nasty. Okay, let's pause for a second. Okay. This, if you look inside, you'll see there's 2 extensions. There's a short one going out into this one. This was my barbecue handle set. Craftsman. Says not guaranteed forever. Considered a kitchen utensil. I made a lot of tools out of these. I even made a knife of one of these for a handle. This is so nice to put your ratchet out here. So you got this over 6-inch extension on small engines to get the bolt loose and spin it out. So that's really nice. I found this all beat up and rusted in my junk when I cleaned up the shop. I had to clean this up. This is some tool I made to pull out a seal or something one day by bending over a screwdriver. You know, this would be another challenge, screwdriver challenge. Make a seal puller, something out of a screwdriver. This is a metal detecting probe, just whatever common rod. It's all scratched up. I sandpapered it. When you go down, you can touch the coin. I have a brass one with a pointed tip. This has like a ball on it. If you think there's valuable coins and you do not want to damage it, but this tool can be used for all kinds of stuff. Another one of those handles. Okay. Now, here's the only really square screwdrivers I have besides my nice Husky ones. I've had this for a long time. It has shellac because you could not polish this nasty old plastic. And I'm sure it was Ranch King or something. I bet it was. I can almost see that. Yep. I can almost read it in there. It was so beat up that I just put spray shellac on it. But I'd say that's probably like, if this is 5/16, we know I just bought it. So is this. Tire tool for small tires I've used on car tires. See how I heated that and flared it and made like a little spoon? The same as this. This was very beat up. I painted it and everything. You can tell I put shellac on. The handle was even yellow and plastic before I sprayed it. So this is probably what? 3/8 square. And it tapers down. I've broken this several times being carried away. Use it for a pry bar, not on tires. You notice how they grind this to go to the flat? They go up here. It makes that much stronger when you pry. I've used this many times for car tires, doing them by hand. So I repurposed that. And this is one of my latest ones out of the Screwdriver Challenge. And I said I wanted a little more different than everybody else's maybe. I wanted a long taper, and it could still be used for a screwdriver to get down in places. I mean, you could even made it a little bit thinner. It depends on what you're going to use it for. And this is probably $5.50 at Menards. And I bought another little one. So that's my latest one. So there you go. It's probably going to be a long video, but I hope you enjoy it. I did take just a picture of everything, so I'm not going to take any individual pictures. So thanks for watching. I appreciate all my subscribers and people watching this year. I figured it's December. Let's make an end of the year closeout special here on all these tools. Here, let's just keep going and put them in a big pile. Let's just pile them all up. I said a lot of these are from last winter, so there you go. Thanks for watching.